So we're going to dive into 10 calendar hacks and tips that you can apply to your own calendars today and really get better use of your time in today's video. Today, we're very lucky to be sponsored by Clockwise. Here's a little bit more about them. So this month's sponsor is Clockwise. Clockwise are doing some really interesting stuff in the market right now with artificial intelligence. And for those who are new to Clockwise, it's a smarter way to schedule that works for teams. Now, flexible meetings are a great feature allowing you to move meetings using AI to work for everyone and create blocks of time that are free in your day. Now, flexible meetings in Clockwise help one-to-ones and find the most efficient time and fix conflicts. And you can choose which meetings are flexible and set preferences for how flexible they are. Now, Clockwise actually state they run up to 1 million calendar permutations per team to create the best possible schedule for everyone. Imagine a supercomputer playing Tetris to put flexible meetings into the best possible place based on your preferences. We do that every day to unlock time and help foster a healthier way of work. Now, there's also focus time. It's another experience in Clockwise, helping you to set a goal for focus time every week. As you can know, this can be a huge lifesaver to those deep focus sessions during the work week. And Clockwise will block any 2+ hour slot in your calendar as focus time and even help quiet the noise by snoozing notifications in Slack and keeping you in task by syncing with Asana. Now, over 10,000 organizations run on Clockwise, including Reddit, Atlassian, Pinterest, and Netflix, and it's great to have them on as a sponsor. You can check out the link in the description below. Now, as you can imagine, there's plenty of different ways to enhance your calendar. And one of the first ways I'd recommend is to include time zones. Now, you can do this with Google Calendar and the majority of other applications on the market, but adding a secondary time zone can help you to do a lot of useful things. Not only see the time in the other country, but arrange appointments that are better suited to external parties. In particular, I find having a secondary time zone on my calendar is so helpful for making sure that I'm aware of San Francisco time zone, just because typically a lot of the startups are from there. And you can apply this to your own situation as well, whether you're working with a country in Asia or over in America, it doesn't matter. Adding that secondary time zone to a city can be really beneficial. So tip number 2 is overblocking. This is a really common tactic that a lot of people use, is tend to use their calendar to block every element of time possible. Now, obviously, time blocking is a really effective technique, and we'll come to that a little bit later. However, overblocking can sometimes overwhelm you in the amount of stuff you can do. And what I'm speaking specifically here to is meetings. Now, meetings are beneficial, but sometimes, and a really popular technique more recently, asynchronous communication, trying to push you towards reducing the amount of meetings you have and seeing whether the communication is possible through asynchronous. This will significantly reduce the amount of meetings on your calendar and help you towards spending your time better, because a calendar is the best representation of your time in a visual format, in my opinion. So making sure you're not overblocking yourself is really key. Sometimes it's hard because we work in companies, but also making sure that we're not overloading ourselves is really important. So being aware whether you can turn a simple calendar rent into asynchronous communication is vital. Number 3 is working hours. And this is something, again, that is really suited to asynchronous and remote work, but adapting your working hours inside of Google Calendar can be a great way to save yourself some time and make sure people don't disturb you or book certain appointments with you. For example, if it's picking up your kids or starting the day a little later, being able to adapt these working hour times on a regular basis and changing them based on your routine can be really helpful. And especially with what we've seen over the last couple of years with remote work, people tend to try and be a bit more flexible with their schedules. So adapting your working hours through here can be a great way to showcase that. Number 4 is actually seeking out calendar clients and tools. Much like our sponsor Clockwise, there are some great clients and tools out there that can help you go a bit further with your calendar. And I wouldn't be too afraid about trying some. Calendar tools and implementations can save you time in whether it's a small connection between one calendar and another. It can save you some valuable time. A good example of this is, for example, Microsoft Teams and the likes of Google Calendar. You can actually connect those two together and be able to create appointments via Microsoft Teams without leaving the platform. So that can be naturally something to be aware of, that calendar can be expanded just beyond the regular basic Apple Calendar and Google Calendar. Number 5 is conferencing tools. This is something small that if you haven't set up yet can save you loads of time. I more recently set it up on my own calendar application, and it saved me loads of time just being able to set up meetings really fast with a regular. For example, our Sunday evening meetings for Bento, we regularly set them up, and I've recently done it with Google Meet. And whenever I don't do it with Google Meet, it's that faff before the meeting of 5 minutes of setup. But connecting, whether it's Zoom, Google Meet, or another software that you're using to your calendar application can be really helpful. Number 6 is time blocking. Although I talked earlier about overblocking, time blocking is actually a great technique, and really one way to optimize time blocking is using different calendars and the colors. This can be super helpful. For example, you could have a calendar that's specifically tailored around your daily routine, putting in the runs and maybe the walks you do, and maybe even breaks and things like that. But you can use different colors across your calendar to really represent focus time. For example, focus time could be in red, and like, for example, blue could be more relaxed time, etc. But you can really adapt this to your own needs. Now, Clockwise actually has a great focus mode that's worth checking out in the link in the description. Number 7 is connecting it to Slack or another synchronous communication service that you use. For example, if you want to keep your employees updated, this is really helpful for just saving time. Making sure they're aware of what meetings you're in can be really helpful. And even getting little notifications inside of Slack or other services that your calendar has updated is really helpful. And there are loads of these little applications that can be great plugins. Here's what we're showing on screen is a good example of Clockwise's one. Number 8 is actually a very simple thing you can do in Google Calendar, but get a daily agenda email. A newsletter that rounds up what meetings you have for the day. This can also be populated and created with Mailbrew, which is another email newsletter service that I recommend checking out in the link in the description. Number 9 is calendars of interest. Now, this is something that a lot of people skip past, but actually helping have the calendars of interest pop up is really helpful, whether it's for religious events or even the events that are in your country that routinely happen. This is helpful just populating your calendar with these automatically. And one thing I definitely recommend checking out is if you're into a sport. Sometimes on the sport website, when you go to the events page or calendars page for the upcoming events, you'll see a calendar integration appear. I actually set this up every single year for the Formula 1, and it's really helpful to be able to have that inside the calendar so that any conflicts come up and I can cancel anything around the F1, making sure that that's the priority for the weekend, quite obviously. Number 10, and our final recommendation, is one that I've taken from Scott Friesen, who runs Simpletivity, a great YouTube channel I recommend checking out. And he recommends to actually put emoji in front of any recurring events. For example, run 5K, put an emoji in front of it, and it'll make it feel a little bit more special and a little bit more visually appealing. Something that I recommend checking out. Anyway, folks, a big thank you for stopping by today. If you're new to the Keep Productive YouTube channel, make sure you're subscribed. But if you want to check out our sponsor Clockwise for powerful calendar improvements, I'd recommend checking them out in the link in the description. Anyway, folks, a big thank you. Feel free to comment with your calendar tips below if you fancy giving other people some recommendations. Thank you, everyone, and I'll see you all very soon. Cheerio.